Okay. Welcome, everyone. We are going ahead and start our council meeting. I just want to welcome you to the City of Murray meeting. We are glad to have you viewing our proceedings. For the benefit of those who have joined us, I wanted to provide a short explanation. Because of the current health pandemic and in order to comply with the governor's directive to stay home, stay safe, and the public health order issued by the county health department and the county mayor, we have determined that in-person meeting, including attendance by the public and council, is not practical or prudent. Therefore, this meeting will be held remotely through electronic means. Each person is participating from a separate location. We are totally dependent upon the internet and technology to broadcast this meeting and to ensure that the public has an opportunity to view the proceedings. However, there could be malfunction that is totally out of our control. So we apologize. We don't expect any issues, but we want you to be aware of that possibility. If you would like to submit citizen comments or comments to the public hearing, please email us at city.council@murray.utah.gov. Again, that's city.council@murray.utah.gov. They should be less than 3 minutes, include your name and contact information, and they will be read on the record. All council members are present, and excuse me. And because reciting the Pledge of Allegiance is difficult with remote participants, I will be reciting the Pledge of Allegiance by myself. So if you guys can all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, we will go ahead and start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to ask everyone to mute themselves just because there is some feedback throughout this process, and we just want to make sure everyone can listen. So moving forward, does anybody have any corrections to the minutes from our previous council meeting of April 7th, 2020? Council members?
No. Do you want a motion?
Yes, no. I will take a motion.
All right. I'll move that we approve the previous council meetings from April 7th, 2020.
I'll second.
Awesome. Jennifer?
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hells?
Aye.
Ms. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye. I have to remember to unmute myself. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue on, and I'm going to give the time to our mayor for the next part of our agenda. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. And good evening, City Council, City staff, and members of the public. Tonight, I present to the City Council for your consideration a budget for Murray City for fiscal year 2020-21. Now, I want to recognize right from the start the many hours devoted to this budget by our Finance Director, Brenda Moore, the Finance and Administration Department, all department directors, and the Mayor's Office staff. How quickly the state of things can change. Less than 3 months ago, I presented my State of the City address reporting strong economic conditions for the city and boasting of our ever-popular recreation facilities and programs, praising our cultural arts programming and anticipating much-needed capital improvement projects. Then suddenly, with little warning, came the coronavirus. As you all know, these are unprecedented times. The fact that I'm presenting this budget address to you this evening in an electronic meeting illustrates and emphasizes that reality. Budget projections for this budget have been extremely challenging. The mayor's tentative budget has always used conservative and attainable budget estimates, and this year is no exception. However, for fiscal year 2021, our revenue estimates have been lowered in anticipation of the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. This includes sales tax, gas tax, and other fees and charges. As was pointed out in the Committee of the Whole, cities are asking to hold their budgets without any increases. I wish we had the luxury of doing that because we believe that we're going to need to cut deep into our budget. We were already well into the budget development process when the pandemic hit us. We ask our department directors to carefully review their capital improvement projects and identify which ones are critical and what can be postponed, recognizing that only the top priority projects were being considered to begin with. Well, now we're in the midst of an economic shutdown. Our local businesses, both large and small, especially in the hospitality industry, are suffering. Fashion Place Mall is basically shuttered and our car dealerships are quiet. In addition, our residents are apprehensive. Using best estimates based on limited information, we have determined to lower our budget revenue projections for this budget by approximately $4.5 million in the general fund. Now, what makes this budget so challenging is the fact that the length and extent of the economic recovery is unknown at this point. In past years, our proposed budget was based on clear historic data and forecasted based on predictable trends. This year has caused us to react to unpredictable conditions late in our budget development. So I want to emphasize the importance of the mayor and the city council working closely in the coming months to adapt as necessary and as economic conditions change. It'll be critical that we examine and reevaluate this budget regularly and make necessary adjustments as we proceed through what we hope will be a rapid economic recovery process over the coming months. Now, as a provider of municipal services, our workforce is our greatest asset, and personnel costs account for 71% of our general fund budget. This proposed budget does not include a cost of living adjustment or COLA for our employees, but it does provide for an increase in health insurance premiums by 6.5%, an increase in dental premiums of 1.9%, a 6.77% increase in Tier 2 public safety retirement contributions, and a 7% increase in Tier 2 fire retirement contributions. In addition, I'm asking the council to continue to fund the employee STEP plan implemented 2 years ago. The STEP plan impacts approximately 2/3 of our workforce. The cost to the general fund to provide these increases is approximately $311,000 and approximately $127,000 in enterprise funds. I believe it's important to maintain this STEP plan as there was so much time and effort invested in its implementation and its positive impacts have had on our employees. And frankly, it impacts mainly the lower paid employees of our city. 2 full-time positions have been eliminated from this budget, including the Development Services Manager in the Community and Economic Development, or CED, department, and an Office Administrator in the DEA Metro Task Force. Another Office Administrator position in the CED department, which is currently vacant due to a recent retirement, is on hold. 2 new general fund positions requested by Public Works, a streets maintenance worker and a civil engineer, are not funded in this budget. 3 additional positions in enterprise funds have been included in the budget, but if approved, the departments will be directed to postpone their hiring until we can better identify the direction the economy is moving in the coming months. These positions are a water distribution technician, a stormwater compliance officer, and assistant customer service supervisor in utility billing. We talk about capital improvements for just a moment. With such a dramatic decrease in projected revenues, This budget was primarily balanced by postponement of various capital improvement projects and by expending fund balance. Independent of the operating and employee budgets, the capital improvements projects, or CIP fund, relies on a transfer from the general fund to provide for improvement of the city's non-utility infrastructure, such as parks, roads, vehicles, fire apparatus, and other big ticket items. In early March, our department directors submitted CIP requests for the coming year totaling just over $8 million, which included $2 million to go towards the Murray Theater renovation. Following the COVID-19 outbreak, I instructed our department directors to reevaluate their requests and submit only for critical needs that cannot be postponed for whatever reason. The CIP committee met on April 9th and were presented an itemized list of capital projects that, in the opinion of the department directors, can be postponed for the coming year. As a result, this budget includes only $2.9 million in the CIP for projects currently under contract and others that are considered critical. In our budget 2 years ago, we eliminated the general fund transfer from the stormwater fund so that all stormwater funds collected would be dedicated to meeting the requirements and objectives of our stormwater program. This budget proposes the elimination of the general fund transfer from the solid waste fund. The reasons for this include the fact that the solid waste fund is not a true enterprise fund, but rather a fee-based service that generates no additional revenues other than what the customers pay for the service. In addition, it only impacts primarily single or two-family residential customers who have their waste picked up by Ace Disposal under contract with the city. I believe the elimination of this transfer is the right thing to do for our residential customers. This budget includes no proposed tax increases. At a time when the economy is basically shut down, with many of our constituents out of work and our business community extremely stressed, I do not believe a tax increase would be the right or prudent thing to do. This proposed budget will reduce the fund balance in the general fund to approximately 12%. However, it is anticipated that the economy will rebound relatively quickly as compared to the last recession, and that we'll be able to at least maintain the reserve at or above the 12% estimate going forward. If we do not see economic trends improving quickly, we'll be forced to make some very tough decisions during this coming budget year and into the next regarding programs, personnel, capital improvements, and already lean operating budgets. So I'll end this budget address this evening where I began. These are unprecedented times. It will be essential for the city administration to work very closely with this council in monitoring and adjusting revenues and expenses. I believe that our city is well positioned to rebound relatively quickly once the economy starts up again. So after many hours of work on this budget, we place it in the hands of you, the city council, and invite you to study it carefully and thoroughly. Our staff is available as a resource throughout the budget process. The budget document will be on the city website beginning tomorrow for review by the general public. The council will receive the budget by email at the conclusion of this address, and a hard copy is available at the council office. The state of the city has changed dramatically in a few short months. But here's what has not changed. We will continue to make public safety a top priority by providing outstanding police, fire, and emergency medical services, as well as other critical public services. We will seek out ways to continuously improve and become more efficient. As we move past this devastating pandemic, our strong spirit of community will help us rebound to a place better than we were before. I'll conclude this budget address with the same closing paragraph from my State of the City address, and I quote, "I am optimistic about the future of Murray City. Murray will continue to be a great place to live and work, and we will continue to provide the services that make Murray the envy of other municipalities. I look forward to the future, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Council, do you guys have any comments or questions for the mayor? No? Okay.
No, we'll just wait for our email.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mayor. I really appreciate it. And we will go ahead and move forward with citizen comments. Jan, do we have any comments for tonight?
Yes, I have 2 comments to read. And the first one is from Allison Treese, who is the lending manager for NeighborWorks of Salt Lake. And she says, hello all. I hope this email finds you and your family safe and healthy. I wanted to reach out to you and ask if you could include us when you reach out to your constituents. We have some really great programs that can help Murray residents and potential residents. We recently increased the amount of our down payment assistance forgivable loans for Murray. A forgivable loan means that we give them the money for a down payment, and as long as they stay in their home for 5 years, they don't have to pay it back. We can offer $25,000 for Murray City employees and heroes, police, fire, teachers, and military, and $20,000 for anyone else who qualifies. We can even layer it with other down payment assistance programs. In order to qualify, they have to be at or below 120% of the average median income. For example, a family of 4 cannot make over $105,480. It's a pretty great program. It can really make a difference to someone on a tight budget wanting to move into our great city. Also, we have a great program for elderly citizens who want to age in place, but their home is in need of repairs to make it safe and healthy or even livable. We can lend them up to $25,000 with no payments or interest. It doesn't have to be paid back until they either pass away or move out of the home. It would be paid back when that home is sold or refinanced refinanced. It's a great program for people who have lived in their home for years but can't afford to repair it. Please let me know if you have any questions or would like to know more. And I do have her contact information if anybody wants to email for that. The second one is from Sean Delascave, and Sean is our journalist from the Murray Journal. Dear City Council, as a member of the press, I have always appreciated the openness that Murray City has been known for regarding open meetings and responding to inquiries about city business. I would characterize the response of most city officials as helpful. In light of current events that have required more public meetings to be broadcast online, namely the Committee of the Whole meeting, I would like to address the Council about increasing further openness. As you are aware, this meeting is held early afternoon at a time when many residents are at their places of employment. For instance, today's meeting was at 4:45. This public meeting is helpful as it presents information that in some respects is not presented elsewhere or will be on the agenda for a future council meeting. It has been nice to watch these proceedings online and not make special work arrangements to be in attendance. As residents discover the value of the Committee of the Whole meeting, I am sure the more involved they become in civic affairs, the more involved they will become in civic affairs of the city. I ask that the City Council to move forward and always broadcast online all future Committee of the Whole meetings so that residents may have more opportunities to participate in their municipal government. Sincerely, Sean Delascave. And those are the only ones I've received.
All right. Thank you so much, Jan. And just know that your comments are heard and we'll be in touch. And thank you to NeighborWorks and Sean for that information as well. All right. So moving forward, We are going to move forward to the consent agenda, and I'm going to go ahead and read each appointment. Appointment number 1, consider the confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Mark Burton to the Building Board of Appeals for a 3-year term to expire April 21st, 2023. Item number 2, consider confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Bill Carnell to the Building Board of Appeals for a 3-year term to expire April 21st, 2023. Also consider the mayor's appointment of Richard Kester to the Building Board of Appeals for a 3-year term to expire April 21st, 2023 as well. And then the next one, item number 4, consider confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Danielle Hayes to the Murray City Center District Design Review Committee for a 3-year term to expire April 21st, 2023. Mayor, go ahead. Do you have I'm going to turn it over to you to present.
Okay, thank you very much. As you mentioned, we have these 4 new board appointments this evening. 3 of them are for the Building Board of Appeals, and 1 for the MCCD committee. If I can share the screen here. This is Mark Burton. He's the tall one on the right. Mark is very qualified to be part of the Building Board of Appeals. I've known Mark professionally for over 20 years. He's a former deputy state fire marshal and has extensive experience in building and fire codes. So he'll be a great addition to the Building Board of Appeals. And he can take instructions on how to spread the flowers too. Bill Carnell is the next. I don't know what just happened there. Okay. Bill Carnell is our next appointee to the Building Board of Appeals. He has experience in real estate, major residential construction, has worked as a general contractor and subcontractor, and will also be a great asset to the Building Board of Appeals. Richard Kester is a former employee of Murray City, worked for the Power Department for 15 years, worked as a planning and drafting, working with the engineering department in the Power Department, and then became a building inspector for 19 years with certifications in building, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical codes. So these 3 will make a very good Board of Appeals, and we hope that they're not used often. Danny Hayes has accepted our invitation to be appointed to the Murray City Center District Design Review Committee. Danny has experience in building components, has repped for GE Plastics and other building components, correctional and ballistics projects, and has worked with architects and city officials as well as county officials for many years. So I'm happy to be able to present these 4 individuals to you this evening for your approval.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Now, does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns before we turn it over for a vote?
I just personally like to say that Mary, very impressive, went through each of their resumes and very, very impressed with all 4.
Kat, Diane, Dale, anyone?
Nope, I just echo what Councilman Hales said, that they had impressive resumes, and we're so grateful that they are interested in serving Murray.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, I just wanted to state as well, I was really impressed with all their experience and what they are going to bring over to Murray. So I really appreciate that, Mayor. And especially with the MCCD, I think having that experience and that background really helps in our community, especially close to close to what's coming in terms of the downtown development. So I appreciate that. But go ahead, Diane. I'll take a motion.
Do you want to take them together, the whole agenda together?
Yes, I think that would be great.
All right. I'll make a motion to adopt the mayor's appointments and the consent agenda as indicated.
I'll second.
Thanks.
All right, Jennifer?
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. House,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez.
Aye. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Mayor, would you like to say anything else?
No, thank you. I think I've said enough. Just thank you for your vote of support for him.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. Moving forward, let me get to my notes here. All right. We're going to go ahead and move forward to our public hearing. At this time, and I'm going to turn the time over to Kim Sorensen to go over the presentation for Murray Parks and Recs. Kim?
Thank you, Rosalba. Council, Mayor, it's good to see you tonight. I'm one that wishes we were in person, but it is good to see each of your faces. So you probably remember about a little over a month ago in CLW meeting, Cindy Mendoza with MIG and I presented the master plan to you. Just to recap, the master plan replaces the current Parks and Recreation master plan, which was adopted in 1994. The new plan is expected to be at approximately 10-year plan. Each of you have a copy of the plan, and I hopefully have had time to look at the master plan. So tonight, what we're here to do is ask you to consider a resolution adopting the master plan for adoption. With that, does anyone have any questions concerning the master plan?
I have a comment, Kim, and I've said this before. You did a really good job with that, and the consultant you chose also. So thank you. We really appreciate it. And I've read the whole thing.
Thank you. And we appreciate your support.
Jen?
Yes. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brett.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the same thing. It was great, and we know that you and your members of your staff and the administration and everyone did a great job on this. And as a council, we give you a big thanks. So thanks.
Thank you.
Kat?
I was going to say I've had several residents reach out to me who were also excited and impressed by it. So thank you. It's thoughtful, it's strategic, it's resident minded and focused. So thank you.
Thanks.
So I just wanted to comment, and I love the plan, and so do my residents on Wesley Road, with the idea that that in the future we can get a park over there, which, I've explained, unless we were to acquire that property, which we don't foresee and is not in our budget. But that idea of the master plan over the next 10 years it's a real beautiful one, but it excited a lot of my residents in that area. I will say that in that area. So, but my question was to Jen, do we do public comments first, if you have any, before we take a vote, or do we take a vote and then public comments?
Yes, you take public comments first, but I have not received any.
Okay. Perfect. So I had about, I don't even know, I'd say 20 residents that just really wanted a park in that area from the last meeting. And I know that they had public comments. And I would be remiss without saying that. And I'll share them with you, Kim.
And many of them I've spoken to, yes. So I'd be happy to talk to you.
Okay, great. All right. Can I go ahead and get a motion to consider this resolution?
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution adopting Murray City Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
I'll second.
Perfect. Jennifer?
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. House,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez.
Aye. Okay, so it's passed. Thank you so much, Kim. I would welcome you to stay, but you don't have to if you don't want to. All right. So the next public hearing, we are going to, going through my notes. Oh, wait, we don't have another public hearing. Okay, perfect. We're moving on to business items. To consider a resolution acknowledging a receipt of the fiscal year 2020-2021 tentative budget from the mayor and the budget officer and referring the mayor's tentative budget for review and consideration to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council. Councilwoman Turner, I turn this to you.
We can't hear you, Diane.
Diane, can you,
Jan, can you unmute her?
yeah, but not while she's trying. Diane, if you'll just give me a second.
Okay, am I still muted?
There you go. Now you're on.
This is a challenge, but all right. So I'll go ahead and read the resolution. Whereas Section 10-6-111 of the Utah Code requires that on or before the first regularly scheduled meeting of the governing board in May of the current fiscal year, the mayor and the city's budget officer shall prepare the mayor's tentative budget for each fund for which a budget is required for the ensuing fiscal year. And whereas the mayor and the city's budget officer, Brenda Moore, submitted the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 mayor's tentative budget on April 21st, 2020 to the Murray City Municipal Council. And whereas the Murray City Municipal Council wants to acknowledge receipt of the mayor's tentative budget and refer it to the Budget and Finance Committee. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Murray City Municipal Council as follows. It hereby acknowledges receipt of the fiscal year 2020 to 2021 mayor's tentative budget for the mayor and the city's budget officer, Brenda Moore, on April 21st, 2020. Number 2, the submitted mayor's tentative budget is hereby referred to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council for review and consideration. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go. So we accept it, and let's see, I guess we need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the resolution acknowledging receipt of the fiscal year 2021 tentative budget from the mayor and the budget officer and referring the mayor's tentative budget for review and consideration to the Budget and Finance Committee of the Murray City Municipal Council.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Jennifer?
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. House,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez.
Aye. All right, it is passed. We'll go ahead and move on to the second item, where we will be considering a resolution of the Murray Municipal Council approving a first I was just making sure I wasn't muted. Okay. Approving the first amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement between Murray City Corporation, City, and the Cottonwood Heights, granting Cottonwood Heights additional easements over city property for use of as an extension of a segment of Big Cottonwood Trail. Danny will be presenting. Go ahead, Danny.
Thank you, Council, Mayor. Good evening. I'm just sorry that we're not meeting together because I like the association. So someday we'll be back together, hopefully, real soon. I'm really challenged this evening because I'm going to try to share my screen and hopefully I don't cut everything off. So let's give this a shot because I have some information to share with you. I'd like to kind of update council members who aren't aware of these things and remind council members who have heard this in the past. But so let me give this a shot. Okay, so hopefully everybody can hear me. So what we're talking about, and this is, and I'll give you a bigger overview here in a minute. What is outlined in the red is what we're talking about right now. And on the left-hand side where it says Murray City property and it has some cars parked there, that is the Cottonwood Heights park and ride that was built a few years back. We gave the Cottonwood Heights an easement so that they could add additional parking for the canyons to allow skiers and whatnot to go up the canyon and to reduce the number of cars. And what they have asked is they want to put a sidewalk now. They've got funding across that the little red circle or design there and up to Wasatch Boulevard. So let me go to the next slide here. And this is just a good design of it. And I don't know if you're interested in that, but here's an overview of this of the area there. So you can see Murray City owns a lot of property up there, and including up the canyon, including where the park and ride is, where that we just redid that agreement a couple weeks ago with Salt Lake County, because they wanted to do number one, they wanted to do a bike repair station, but also we needed to redo that agreement because it had expired as well. So anyway, if you look at the Wasatch Boulevard at the top of the screen, all of the property going down the hill to following the creek, that is all Murray City's property. But you can also see that there's a trail back there. That is an easement that we granted Cottonwood Heights also to put a trail back on the backside of our spring property. And it's been a great addition. It's actually offered some security back there or in that area for our springs. In fact, since we granted that easement and they put the trail in, we've never had any of our spring doors or our facilities broken into. The worst that we've had is just animals, deer getting in there because it's so protected, eating our trees. So anyway, so this evening, what we're doing is what I would like you to do is to approve the resolution with this interlocal agreement, changing this interlocal agreement for Cottonwood Heights, so which includes the original agreement of the park and ride, but also this portion of the trail that's in red, which brings it, allows those parking there to get all the way up to Wasatch Boulevard and then cross. There's two ways they can actually cross. They can cross at grade there, or they can go down the trail just a little bit and go under Wasatch Boulevard, because as part of the project that there is a trail that goes under the road. So anyway, it's a safe way for pedestrians, bicycles to access the canyons as well. So that's what we're here to approve. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Council, does anyone have any questions? Brett? No? Okay. All right, perfect. I will go ahead and take a motion.
I'll move that we approve a resolution of the Murray City Municipal Council approving a first amended and restated interlocal cooperation agreement between Murray City Corporation and Cottonwood Heights, granting Cottonwood Heights additional easements over city property for use as an extension of a segment of the Big Cottonwood Trail.
I'll second.
All right, Jennifer?
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Mr. House,
Aye.
Ms. Martinez,
Aye.
Mr. Cox,
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez.
Aye. All right, Danny, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
move forward. Thank you so much. Sorry. We're going to go ahead and move on to our next agenda item, is to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 2.36 of the Murray City Municipal Code related to the Building Code Board of Appeals. Melinda and Steve will be presenting. Steve Reed, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Great, thank you. I'm glad we have Steve Reed, the city's building official, with us tonight. Wanted to just go over real quickly with you all and help the public understand what the Board of Appeals is for and what their roles are. So we've put together just a brief presentation for you. And this is a summary of what's taken directly from the International Building Code, which the city has adopted. So they have stated that in general, the Board of Appeals is set up to decide appeals and orders or decisions made by the city's building official. And they determine if the decision is correct relative to the IBC code that we've adopted. They have some limitations on their authority. The appeals that they hear must be based on a claim that the true intent of the code has not been correctly interpreted or don't apply. The Board of Appeals may not waive requirements of the International Building Code. And then I'll let Steve speak a little bit more about this, but the building code also calls for the members of the Board of Appeals to have certain qualifications. And this was something that Steve felt strongly about, that we have members on our board, which you appointed earlier this evening. Thank you for that. That they have some experience and background that are germane to code. Essentially, it would be his decisions that would be questioned. And so it's best to have members serving on the board that have some background or experience with that type of information. So the summary and the changes that we have proposed this evening that we're asking you to consider are changes to the City Code Chapter 2.36, which is our Board of Appeals section. And right now that section says that we would have 5 members appointed. We would ask the council change that to 3 members. We have added just a couple areas of language in there to clarify the qualifications are based on training and experience per the building code. And then the code also states that members may be removed by the mayor. So we have our recommendation for you tonight is that you approve the proposed changes to City Code Chapter 2.36. But I want to turn the time over to Steve for a minute for him to just give you some added insight into the process that we've gone through as we've considered this and some of the reasons why we are presenting the changes to you as they are.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to make sure we kept it within the city residents. I think that was important, but also important was the qualifications. So when we have these meetings, we want to make sure that the board is kind of dialed in, naturally, as opposed to having to explain things. The board, if somebody wants to question one of my decisions on a code item, anybody can pretty much take it to the board, and the board decides whether that code section applies to this situation or doesn't. They can determine whether the applicant has provided an equivalent alternate that was reasonable, that I understand. And then also, basically if that, the code section that I'm quoting even applies to their project. So these three gentlemen, I'm really proud that I found them. And I think we've got a good board. The struggle with 5, I guess, coupled with 5 versus 3, and as busy as it was, if I could have went outside the city, I could have found some other good players. But so we just felt going to the 3 and keeping them within the city would be a better route.
Question.
Sorry, go ahead, Brett.
I'm sure this was with anything, and I'm just directed to the mayor. It said for any and no reason. Is that that's with every appointed position that you have, I'm assuming?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions, comments, concerns?
I expressed my concerns during committee of the whole, just of being able to maintain a quorum with such a small board, but I do agree it's really important to keep the membership within Murray residents. So thank you for that conversation last time. I think it's the right choice.
Anyone else? Dale, Melinda, or Diane? No? Okay. All right. At this point, if I can go ahead and ask for a motion.
I'll move that we adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 2.36 of the Murray City Municipal Code related to the Building Code Board of Appeals.
I'll second.
All right. Jennifer?
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. House?
Aye.
Ms. Martinez?
Aye.
Mr. Cox?
Aye.
Ms. Dominguez?
Aye. All right. With that, we have passed it, and we'll go ahead and move on to the mayor's address. Mayor?
Okay, thank you. Let me start out tonight with what you're probably all expecting, updates on COVID-19. The status of our facilities is unchanged from our last report. The same facilities, the facilities are still closed that were closed. However, in alignment with the governor's phased reopening plan, which is referred to as Utah Leads Together 2.0, and following the recommendations of the Salt Lake County Health Department, I've instructed all of our department directors to create a phased plan for reopening their facilities when the time is right to do so. Now, just to be clear, I'm not asking them for a timetable. I'm asking them for a plan that can be implemented when it's appropriate to do that. And we shared with you the library's plan in the council communication on Friday, which I thought Kim did a really good job on. So I've asked all of our department heads to do the same. If you're following the phase timeline of the governor's plan, you know that we're entering what's referred to as stabilization. And see if I can put this up here. So this is from the Utah Leads Together plan, and if you can see the phase timeline, starting the end of April, 1st of May is this phase called stabilization, and that's what we're going into now. And it's our intent to be prepared to do openings as it's appropriate and as the data allows. As I mentioned, that we'll be following very closely the recommendations and, of course, the orders of the county health department. Now, having said that, too, I think it's important to note that the fund days activities are still in limbo. We haven't decided whether or not we're going to be able to hold them or not. We're still waiting for probably a couple of weeks to see what happens. A lot of the cities in this valley have already canceled their festivities, their parades, things like Butler Days and Harvest Days and Taylorsville Days and those kinds of things. We believe that between May 1st and May 15th will be the critical time for us to make the decision on what we do with fund days. So we'll be ready to do that. On other topics, tonight at 10 p.m., State Street will be closed. It won't be closed. It'll be reduced to limited lanes as utility work takes place at 5650 South. That'll be at 10 p.m. and is only expected to last probably for about an hour or so. Last meeting that I mentioned that the Transjordan landfill was closed. It has been reopened as of yesterday with social distancing precautions in place. And so that's very good news. Really was pushing to get that landfill opened again. So I'm happy that that's open. Just a reminder that you already know this, but a reminder that State Street will be closed this Friday, April 24th, and Saturday, April 25th from 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. each night from 5300 South to 5600 South for removal of the pedestrian bridge. And we have additional information on our website, on the front page of the website. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that there was a power outage around 1 a.m. on Saturday morning that affected about 3,000 customers. It took some time for the crews to identify where the problem occurred. And the power was out for a little over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes. And it appears that it was caused by a raccoon in the substation on 4800 South that crossed some circuits. And amazingly, the raccoon survived and was only stunned, which is pretty rare. Usually, an animal does that, then they're toast. But I don't know if it's a good thing that he survived or not. But Blaine certainly hopes that he learned his lesson. But anyway, that's my report for this evening, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Sorry, go ahead, Brett.
No, I was just thinking, I wonder if was it the same raccoon that was out west?
That one died.
Oh, all right. That's my hometown.
One drowned.
He was not doing the backstroke.
No. We just thanks for all you've done, Mayor.
All right, anyone else? Kat?
No, thank you for all the information. I did want to say, with all the other cities deciding to cancel their harvest days and 4th of July days, that I am concerned that if we don't cancel ours, it will be the beacon that every other city attends as well and sort of compound risk. Though I hadn't really thought as far as July out for Murray yet, and it broke my heart hearing the possibility of it, but just, I guess, encouraging the concerns of if we're the only one holding one, that it's a compounded risk for us, for the residents.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. And certainly we are considering all those things. And it's good to, or not good, but I should note that the Rotary Club that does the breakfast has already let us know that they have canceled. So even if we do have some kind of celebration, it will be altered. But we'll be making that decision, like I said, in the next couple of weeks.
Dale?
Yeah, if I want, or if I can, I just want to thank the mayor's team for what they've done in the budget for the employees. The healthcare is always a big deal, and continuing on with limited raises. I know they appreciate it, and we do as well. It's hard times, but hopefully we can keep our employees happy and move forward. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. With that, I will adjourn the meeting. Everyone stay safe and healthy, and good night. Bye.